And go.
Hi, everybody. This is Tracia Bolin with a fashion-worthy interview today. And I really was excited to bring this wonderful, beautiful woman on who is my friend, actually, to share her story and just for y'all to get a chance to get to know her. She's definitely somebody that we wanted to bring on for a fashion-worthy interview. And who I'm going to bring on today is Darla Allgood. Um, she is from Palmer Lake, Colorado, and she has been involved with so many different things over the years. She's just a phenomenal woman. She's gotten so many awards and just been in the fashion and modeling and pageantry industry. She's impacted so many lives. And I just wanted to bring her on for a little bit here today so she can tell you a little bit about the things she's doing currently and some of the things she has done to impact so many people's lives. Hi, Darla. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. I love your Santa hat. You look adorable.
Fair days where you got to put a hat on.
Right, exactly. So, I know that, of course, I know a lot about you because you have been my friend, and actually, we've met through the world of pageantry and modeling and different things like that. And I could tell you from the moment you meet this lady, she's just extra special. She's just a such a kind-hearted, sweet friend that you could ever want. And but she's done so many great things in the fashion industry, and I wanted to share that because I know Runway to Life. It likes to impact people with the fashion industry and also to help people with when they're going through stuff. And I know that's Darla's heart too. Um, so what are some of the things? I know one of the main things you've done over the years was one of your books that you came out with God Winks. Did you want to share a little bit about that? Because I know that was just amazing story. I just was really excited about that.
Yeah, the book is called When God Winks at You, and the author is Rushno Squire, and he just does a lot of books about different God winks. And I'll backtrack a little. In 2004, we were asked to be on the Jane Pauley show in New York City and share our story. Well, Rushnell Squire was actually on the show the very same day, and after we shared my story, he said, "I want you in the book. I want you to come back on and share." And I'll just backtrack a little. When I was 17 years old, I gave my son up for adoption, and it was one of the hardest things, I ever did. And but I knew it was the right thing. I knew God had a family waiting for him. And my mom was with me the whole time. She held my hand and just, prayed over me and prayed over the baby. And I remember the day Chad was born. Um, you weren't supposed to see the baby when he's up for adoption. And something in my heart just told me I needed to see Chad. And the nurse said, "No, that's against the rules." And then finally she agreed and she says, "Well, I'll break the rules this time." And my mom had been with Chad in the nursery, just rocking him and praying over him and just being with him. And she says, "I'm going to go out and get an outfit for him. And, so he'll have a nice outfit when he goes home." Well, while she was gone, I remember the nurse walked in, and I remember her opening the door, and she had this little bundle in her arms. And as she got closer to me, my hands just started shaking, and I just started quivering. I couldn't believe this beautiful little life. And she sat Chad in my arms, and I just started crying. The tears were running down his cheeks, his forehead. I kissed his little
Oh,
feet,
it's
his little hands, and told him that I would love him forever, and I hope he, would understand. And the nurse, she was so overwhelmed, she started crying, and she actually climbed on top of the bed with me. And she said, "Oh, he'll understand. Don't worry. honey, someday, he'll come and find you. It's going to be okay. So I told him goodbye. I told him I love him forever, that, he would always be in my heart. And she grabbed him out of my hands, and my hands were, still shaking and quivering. And I remember, the door shutting and just the sound, and my heart just broke. And I had had a C-section, so I couldn't move around too much. So I kind of just got into like a fetal position and just was crying and crying. And my mom came back. She says, "Oh, I got to show you the outfit." But then she looked up at me and she goes, "What's wrong?" And she says, "You've been crying." And I told her that I finally saw Chad, and she said, "I'm so glad you did. You needed to see him and tell him goodbye." And
Wow.
that just kind of, it just resonated, that scene, the nurse bringing him to me and taking him away from me, and then my mom coming in and just hugging me and holding me, and she said, "Well, I'm going to go back in the nursery," and she says, "I'm going to pray the verse, his angels will have charge over you all your life." I said, "Okay, Mom." Well, I was in the hospital another few days, uh, and Chad had already, went home with the new parents. And I remember them bringing up, the wheelchair, and I remember looking back up at the hospital. I was just leaving something behind me, such a hole in my heart that, nothing would fill it. But, as God has, time heals. And with my boyfriend, we didn't know if we'd get back together or if we would get married, or what would happen. So 2 years later, we did get back together. We ended up getting married. We had four more sons, and it was really hard because every time you go to the doctor, they go, "Well, where's this baby? What's going on here?" And I just said, I had a baby when I was young and I gave him up. But it was still there. It was really, really hard. My husband and I really never talked about it, but my mom and I did. We always talked about Chad. We prayed for him every day. We just wanted to make sure, that God had his protection over him. Well, in 2004 of March, I was getting ready to fly over to Europe. I had a Polish pottery business, and my mom always prayed over me before I would leave. And she says, "I'm going to call you in the morning and pray for you, okay?" But she said, "Before I hang up, honey, I want you to ask you something." I said, "Okay, Mom." She said, "If Chad comes to find you, what are you going to do?" And I said, "Well, Mom, I'd open him with open arms and, share his brothers with him." And okay, that's all I needed to do. Well, the next morning came, and it was strange. I never heard from my mom. I landed in Atlanta, and I said, something, my spirit just told me something wasn't right, because she always prayed over me. She always, there was not a time she wouldn't pray over me flying over to Europe. Well, I went ahead and I got into Germany. And as I was getting ready to check in for my flight to go into Poland to pick up my pottery, they said there's an emergency at home. So, of course, I thought it was one of my boys back in Alaska. That's where we lived at the time. And I kept trying and trying, and the phone was busy, and I could not understand. These boys were just, they were aggravating me. I know Trace knows that feeling.
Yeah, I got three myself, so I know.
So, um, something told me, and I would call that a God wink, said, "Call home." So I called home, and my brother answered, and I said, "Daryl, is something wrong?" And he says, "Yeah." I said, "Is it Dad?" Because my dad had, 2 or 3 heart attacks. He said, "No, it's Mom." I said, "Oh, well, is she sick?" He said, "No, Darla, she's gone." And my heart just slumped. I go, "What do you mean she's gone?" He said, "I found her on the couch, humped over with a Bible in her hands."
Mm.
and she's gone. And I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was just, I, I was numb. And I guess I must have fainted or something, because the next thing I know, there was this German lady. She was holding my hand. She said, "What's wrong, Darla?" I had told her earlier what my name was, and I said, "I just lost my mom. I don't understand." And that whole time, she comforted me and she stayed with me, and she was God sent. And they said, "Well, you can't, you have to finish your whole trip to Poland," because I needed to get back to Colorado, for the funeral. And they said, "You can't just turn around and go back. You have to finish your whole leg." So I bent down to get my boarding pass, and I wanted to thank the lady that was sitting right beside me, and she wasn't there. And I said to the gentleman, I said, "Where's the lady?" And he says, "What lady?" And I know that was an angel. I know God sent that angel to give me comfort. And, through this whole thing, he sent me three angels to get back to Colorado, which is another long story. And as I remember, I had, the last thing mom said to me was, "If Chad comes and finds you, what are you going to do?" And that just stayed in my mind. Well, I had just got back from another trip in August 19th of 2004 from getting some pottery. And I was at one of my stores, and my husband comes down and he says, "Our son called today." I go, "What do you mean our son called today?" He goes, "Our son Chad." And my heart just fell to the ground. He goes,
Wow.
he goes, "What
Imagine.
what do you need?" I said, "I need my mom." I said, "My mom and I have prayed for this all our life. I need her." And he said, "Well, he's going to call you tonight, and he has a lot to share with you, and he's not mad at you, honey. He said he loves you." And that just, to hear him say that, it just, there was just like a feeling like my heart was healing. Well, I remember I didn't want to finish my day at the store, so I wanted to get home so I could talk to him. So I rushed home, and I remember answering the phone, and he says, "Hi, Mom." And, that just brought tears to my eyes, saying, "Hi, Mom." And
Wow.
he says, "I know you did it out of love, and I know you wanted a better life for me." And he said, "I just want to tell you I love you, Mom." And he says, "I have something else I need to tell you." And he says, "I'm going to be a father, and Amanda is my wife." And he said, "We
Wow.
actually been looking for you for 2 years." And he said, "We finally found you through your mom's death certificate." And I was like,
Oh,
wow.
wow. Yep.
And
That is.
their baby was conceived on the very same day that my mom passed away. And then he said, our child was conceived on March 2nd, the same day that your mom passed away. And he said, "Not only that, Mom," he says, "my mother in law was the nurse that was with you in the hospital room.
Wow, that's
And
incredible.
she
That's
said, she never forgot you." She said, "I always remembered that little thing." She called me a little thing. I guess I was little. And I had such an impact on her life. And that's a story that's in When God Winks at You. There's a lot more to it. I usually, when I share my testimony, I usually talk about 2 hours. So I'm
yeah,
just trying to make it real simple for you, so what's in the book and how it's really impacted my life. So many times you go through such a heartache, but when you share it, it not only heals you, but it heals others around you.
absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. How, if somebody wanted to get a hold of your book, how would they do that, Darla? Is how would they get a copy of that book?
Well, I have them on hand, so they can contact me, or if they don't want to get them through me, they can go to Amazon.com.
Okay. So Amazon.com, or you can look up Darla Allgood and get her book, God Winks, and her incredible story. I mean, there's probably a lot more details. I mean, she just gave us an overview of that incredible
Quite
miracle,
a
but
bit.
what a blessing. And how much has that impacted all the things that you're doing? I mean, sharing that wherever you go. I mean, that story, I know it's probably touched so many lives.
Well, it's funny you say that. I go around to women conferences and share my story at different conferences where they've had young girls there that have been pregnant or gave up babies and all that.
Mm.
But this one time I was asked to share my testimony at a pageant, and I was like, God, this is really strange. you know,
Right,
why would
right.
I share my story at a pageant? Well, of course, he knew what he was doing.
Mhm.
And I shared my story at the Today's International Women's Pageant. And when I got done sharing, I had three queens that actually rededicated their lives to Christ.
Wow, amazing.
One lady said she never wanted to find her child, but now she's going to look for her child. Another lady said, God will never forgive me for having, an abortion. I said, yes, he will. I said, our God is faithful.
Yes, he
He
is.
loves us no matter what.
Amen.
And then after I got done sharing, the owner came up to me and she goes, what do you think about being, in our pageant? She says, you have such a platform, about adoption and, all you've been through. And, she said, you're just a dynamic speaker. And I'm like, yeah, right. I'm 50 years old. I'm going to be in a pageant. I don't think so. You know, I just, but, God knew. And I got home and I shared this with my husband, and he says, go for it. So I joined the pageant, and I got the highest award. I was the Queen of Queens. So that just opened so many doors because, your crown, as Trace knows, you walk into a room with a crown, everybody's like, who's that? What's that about?
It does
But
open a lot of doors, yes.
but I don't use it for that. I use my crown to be invisible
Mhm.
and to share my testimony. How God just took different avenues for me to share my testimony.
Exactly. And plus it didn't not only this, but you're involved with modeling, you're part of supermodels and
Yes.
all the things you're doing with that. What is all going on with that? Weren't you crowned one of the top supermodels and got awards for that too?
Yeah, that's where I shared my testimony again. It's funny how you wouldn't think you would share things in different avenues, but the first time I shared, I think I was talking to one of the owners. I think it was Mary Baldwin,
Hmm.
and she said, "Tell me a little bit about yourself." And I told her about the book and a little bit about my story. And she says, she said, I just something about you. She said, I would love for you to be one of our models. And I'm like, oh yeah, right. Here I'm 50 again, and I'm gonna go model. I go like, God, you have a sense of humor here.
All things are possible. All things are possible. This is
And
taking you,
my
yes, it
my
looks like your
husband
testimony.
goes,
Yeah. Your testimony's taken you like all these other places. Like God has used that
yes,
to like do
yes.
so much in you. And it's like you've touched so many lives, not only with the modeling and pageantry and what all the other stuff. See, you've been on magazines. What else you got an award? What was the other award you got?
I got actually this year, which I was absolutely shocked. I got the most inspirational model for 2020.
Wow.
I guess
Wonderful.
they had been following me. I don't know if Rebecca knows about my injury, but in May I broke both my wrists. So I have not been able to use my hands for 6, 7 months.
Oh yeah,
So
you need to tell everybody about that because I know you've been. That's another testimony you've been.
it really is. It's just it was a journey, and it's just like they were watching me. I didn't realize they were watching me, and they said it's just your positivity. You're always talking about you're waiting on God. He's building your strength. And they said we could not have picked a more inspirational person to give this award. And then I got the Courage Award from Pageantry Magazine. I had shared my testimony with them again. And then I got the Community Leader Service Award from Extraordinary People's Award. And then the Most Influential. And Extraordinary People Awards it has opened so many doors. I'm actually with Come On In. I'm the pageant director. I do pageants now and fashion shows. And here you go. I didn't think I'd ever do a pageant. And it's just how God just constantly keeps opening those doors.
So tell us a little bit about that. Come on in. Is there how can people get involved with that? And tell us a little bit about that since that is your pageant that you're holding now. And for young girls, encourage them maybe to get involved. I mean, with all the things you've overcome, I'm sure that invites them to really want to be a part of something like that.
Oh yeah. Well, Come On In it is a wonderful organization. It's about serving others. We take care of the homeless. We take care of the elderly. We have like a Hug a Bear campaign where we couldn't do it, this year because of COVID, but we actually take bears into nursing homes and give them to the elderly. Then we have pageants at the nursing homes. I remember the first pageant I did for these older people, and just the light on their face, when they got the crown, and just, something they've always dreamed of. And that's what we bring to them. We're constantly, right now, we're in the process of a toy drive for 15 families.
Oh,
We
wonderful.
gave away turkeys at Thanksgiving time. We did 1,000 socks last year to the homeless. This organization is about helping and serving others. And I love the pageants and the fashion sense because at the end, when it's all over, I get to pray over the girls. I
Oh.
get to tell them, they're all God's beautiful masterpieces. And size, age doesn't matter. We're all equipped with gifts. So I'm just in awe of what God has done for me and how
Yeah.
He's let me empower, young women and young girls.
And Runway to Life, it really it wants to give a message of encouragement to those who a lot of times they're losing hope. And it's a lot about suicide awareness and how sometimes people get to the point where they think that why bother, and things get so hopeless. Do you think you have a positive message you can share with everybody that would just give them just some ray of hope, or maybe just encouragement with all the things that you've been through, to give them a light of hope from what you've been through in your life?
Oh, absolutely. Anybody that knows me, my word is soar. Soar is my word. And how I use soar is you seek the needs around you, you open your heart to others, you acknowledge each other, and you reach for the sky because God will do the impossible. There's nothing, you can't do. You may have setbacks, but God has a plan. He has a purpose. We're all on a path. We're trying to get to the finish line, and He'll take us through ups and downs and hills and everything, but you need to just keep striving.
Oh, wow, that's wonderful. So there you have it. This wonderful lady is Darla Allgood. Please look her up and follow her journey. You're on Facebook and Instagram. How can they find you? Tell them your information.
Yes, I'm on Facebook. I have my regular Facebook. Then I have the Elite Pageant page, and then I have a model page, and then Instagram is DBAS5.
DBAS5. So get in touch with this wonderful lady. And I'm sure if you need a speaker or a words of encouragement, this lady's been through a lot and she's just a bright light. And I really appreciate her. And I'm glad that she's my friend and that we've had crossed paths to be a part of each other's life too. So thank you so much, Darla, for coming on today and taking some time and sharing your story.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
what an inspirational light you are to so many. And
Oh, thank
we
you.
appreciate you. I know I appreciate you too.
Well,
So
I appreciate you. I miss you.
I miss you too. I haven't seen you for so long, and I'm so glad to get to talk to you today. You are definitely a fashion worthy person that we wanted to bring on here, and I hope to see you soon.
All right. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
All right, take care. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye bye.